Well, we're creeping closer to the President's Cup, believe it or not, with several players from both teams in action this week across the globe. Only 25 days left before action begins for team play in Australia. Your team tonight, Chantel McCabe and Lisa Cornwell.
Wouldn't it be great if we were actually doing this in Melbourne, Australia?
Yeah, but we wouldn't have the leaves,
you know. The ocean, all that. That's where the upcoming competition takes place at one of the most famous venues in the entire world. Royal Melbourne has 36 holes on its property, but it's the West Course designed by famed architect Alistair McKenzie that gets most of the attention, and it's the layout that will showcase most of the holes in this year's President's Cup. It's a composite course featuring 12 holes from the West layout and 6 from the East.
This is the youngest team ever assembled on the international side. The average age is 29 years old. What do you think of this new era with this young, fresh talent?
Well, I mean, we're seeing this trend all over the world, really. I mean, the young talent, they're making a big splash on the PGA Tour, so no wonder that spills over into these team events as well. But, you know, the key for Ernie Els is going to be, obviously, his veterans. And I mentioned Jason Day yesterday for a lot of the reasons. We just heard what he had to say about how he's trying to get back to what he was doing. I do think he's going to have to be a workhorse for them to ultimately prevail down under. But the other thing that you have, Chantel, is intangibles. You need somebody to step up that's in that role for the first time. For the United States, even though it was a losing effort in the Ryder Cup last year, it was Tony Finau. Okay, he was a surprise. He was one of the few bright lights for that team. Now, had the veterans done what they were supposed to do, it would have been at least a lot closer and a much tighter Ryder Cup than ultimately it turned out to be. So I'm looking at these three that we just mentioned, Joaquin Niemann and Abraham Ancer and Sungjae Im, that are rookies on this team, and what impact will they have? Which one of those will be the intangible maker coming out and helping the international team? And I've got my money on Sungjae Im for a couple of reasons. Look, this guy, if you look at him statistically, he has no weakness across the board. He is so solid everywhere. And last season on the PGA Tour, nobody made more birdies, nobody made more eagles than Sungjae Im. The guy led both categories, total eagles, total birdies. That is a huge asset in team play.
You know what? You mentioned Tony Finau being the hero, we'll call it, last year in team play. Sungjae Im, both of them don't have wins yet they are proving to be so consistent. Do you see other similarities in them?
Well, a little bit, yes. I mean, Tony's obviously got the firepower. Sungjae Im's not short, but he's not that kind of flashy long player that Tony is. But the thing about Sungjae Im that I really like is how even his temperament is. He's going to get in the winner's circle soon.
Amazing.
He lost in a playoff already.
That's right.
In Jackson, Mississippi. So he's getting close.
Another thing I noticed is on the international side, 5 new names compared to 2017. On the U.S. team, we talk about the new era. 7 different players than when we last played the President's Cup. As we send it over to Lisa.
Welcome back to Golf Central for the second straight week. The Rolex Series returns on the European Tour. It has been a career year on tour for Bernd Wiesberger. Back in May, captured the title in the Maid in Denmark by 1 shot for his 5th Euro Tour victory. Then in July at the Renaissance Club, Wiesberger defeated Benjamin Hebert in a playoff in the Scottish Open for his 2nd win in 6 starts. And in the Italian Open in October, the Austrian defeated Matthew Fitzpatrick by a single shot with a final round 65. As I'm sure you would expect, Wiesberger is at the top of the race to Dubai standings with just 2 events remaining. This week's winner earns 1,665 points, which means Matthew Fitzpatrick in 4th place and Matt Wallace in 7th are the only players in the field who could take over as number 1. Let's hear from the Race to Dubai leader ahead of this week's showdown.
This year was kind of meant to get back into the groove of playing golf, and you know, as I said earlier, honestly was not sure how it's going to turn out because we had to keep my card, and the way it did this year is a bonus, and everything that happens those last 2 weeks even more so. So you know, just going out there, trying our best. 8 more rounds of golf to play, and hopefully we can make it really good ones, and we count them up at Sunday in Dubai.
Obviously, the pressure to contend. It's one of those. I'm 4th on the Race to Dubai. There's a chance to win the Race to Dubai still. This is probably closest I've been so far in my career to winning it. So, you know, 2 good weeks, and you never know what happens. Obviously, probably without winning either of them, the results have got to go heavily my way. But win one or both. I mean, win both of them. It will do. But certainly win one of them, it puts me right up there, I think.
And once again, 6 of 8 Rolex Series events are in the books. We mentioned Wiesberger victorious in the Scottish Open as well as the Italian Open. Shane Lowry kicked things off in the Abu Dhabi HSBC Championship. John Rahm getting the W in the Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open. Danny Willett, Tyrrell Hatton, the other winners so far.
So, Tripp, the Rolex Series rolls on, and you've played at the Gary Player Country Club in South Africa. What's the most noteworthy thing we should know about this golf course?
Well, it's a big golf course. I mean, there's no question about it, but it's got a couple of design features that I really like, and mainly it's the greens. Okay, it's pretty wide open off the tee in some areas, but they have big greens that play quite small because a lot of the green complexes are like clover leaf. They're sectioned off. They're small sections, but they're really big greens, but they're segmented, just like you're looking at here, that front segment, that back segment. Then there's other greens that are extremely tiny without all those. So it's a bit of a contrast because normally when you see a design, you see that feature throughout the whole golf course, like you would see at a lot of different golf courses. If the greens are small, they continue to be small the whole way around. Think of Hilton Head or Augusta, and those green complexes there, they are kind of small and they got a lot of slope, but they're that consistent all the way around. Here there's a little contrast in that, and I kind of like that as from an architectural standpoint. But the other thing that's really cool is this golf course, the other golf course called the Lost City Golf Course, borders a game preserve. So
You're stealing my thunder because I wanted to ask you if you've seen any of these crazy animals that I was reading about, like the warthogs, the guinea fowls, the baboons, and black mamba snakes. So I'm just curious.
I didn't see any of those.
What is the craziest thing you saw?
That is one of those right there. I walked up on the 11th tee at Lost City, and there was a whole herd of baboons on the tee. Yes, Tripp Eisenhower was scared as he could be and backed away slowly because they said no sudden moves if you run into a herd of baboons. The other thing that was funny is I did ask somebody in South Africa, I said, what do you do if you see a lion? Because there was a fence or whatever, and I said, what do you do if you see a lion? The guy I was asking said, easy, hit your caddy over the knee and run. So it's pretty simple.
I've heard this story off here, but I am so appreciative I asked that question.
Yeah.
So everybody at home now knows what to do if they see a lion.
There you go.
Okay, let's move on. Viktor Hovland is back in action this week on the PGA Tour for the Mayakoba Golf Classic. Hear why this particular tour stop has extra special meaning for the 22-year-olds. And Tripp might surprise us as well.
With Viktor Hovland, a year ago, your first PGA Tour start at the Mayakoba Golf Classic. In that span, obviously, a lot has happened. What's the journey been like to now get to this point back in the PGA Tour?
Yeah, it's been crazy. 12 months ago, I was here with one of my good friends, Zach Boshu, and our kind of first PGA Tour event. And you have to be here again as a full PGA Tour member is it's pretty extraordinary, and kind of missed the days a little bit. Just looking back, traveling around in college on a pretty tight budget and doing things you wouldn't do anymore. But it's been a blast.
What are the expectations like now as you start for a full season on the PGA Tour as you're in the midst of it now?
Yeah, I don't really like to set goals. I just try to keep working on my game, and hopefully I can see my game improving all the time, and that's going to bring the results. I don't really like to stress about, making my card or making this team, whatever. It's all about if I do the things that I need to do, then I'll be in a good spot.
Thankfully, you didn't have to stress too much in order to get your card. Were there any big surprises that kind of caught you year one now as you embark on this next season on tour?
I mean, not really. I feel like before as an amateur, I try to maybe over-prepare a little bit, and I felt like my game had to be perfect in order to play out here, but you don't really have to, as long as you just kind of, minimize the damages and play smart, you can still be very competitive out here.
It's National Signing Day in college. You're a guy who's still living in Stillwater, Oklahoma, actually putting some roots down there. Why has it been important as you have this worldwide playing schedule to still keep Stillwater your home?
Yeah, I'm actually closing on a house as soon as I get back from this week, and I don't know. I'm just really comfortable there. Being from Norway, that's kind of home for me in the United States. So, and I got some of my buddies there, and gonna have a couple of guys move in with me. So it's gonna be a fun week, fun time.
And you're the landlord now. Who are your buddies moving in?
So Zach Boshu played with me last year here, and Austin Eckroat, he's still on the team. So they'll have to get used to being whipped around.
Best of luck this week,
All right.
Viktor. Thanks.
Thanks, you, George.
Considering what Viktor Hovland has done since turning pro, you can see right here, 8 PGA Tour starts, couple top 10s, 6 top 25s, 19 consecutive rounds in the 60s on the PGA Tour, and the final round scoring average is strong.
His coach Alan Bradden took him to Augusta last year and walked him around, had him play practice rounds with 7 major Masters champions along the way.
Wow.
Won the tournament within the tournament with low amateur honors. And that's the type of education that'll mean wonders for him when he gets into a pressure situation, to go back and to live what he did at Augusta and then plug that in to wherever he is, because he's going to start winning tournaments.
Well, it could be a good place to get to the Masters this week.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Just lastly and quickly, since you are an amateur psychologist, and you know this well, there are some people who you watch and they just have it. And I'm not talking about physically.
No.
But there's something about this guy. He gets the mental side of this game.
He does.
Given the assets that you said that he has physically, let's look ahead 5 years. What would your expectations be for a Viktor Hovland?
I think he's going to have multiple wins by then. I think in 5 years he could have 5 wins on the PGA Tour. I would be surprised if he didn't. The other thing, too, as Tim mentioned, low amateur at the Masters, he beat Jack Nicklaus's record for the low score at a U.S. Open, where he also got low amateur at the U.S. Open. So first player since Matt Kuchar to be low amateur at the Masters, low amateur at the U.S. Open. Matt Kuchar's your defending champion. I think Viktor Hovland's going to be defending a lot on the PGA Tour.
Alan Bradden, the coach at Oklahoma State, of course, was the guy who caddied for him when he went around. He went around this year at Augusta, and he talked about all the players that he's done that with. He's never had one at peace the way Viktor was this past year.
Tiger Woods, he had some stuff to say today on Twitter. Excited to welcome Henrik Stenson and Jordan Spieth to the Fields of the Hero World Challenge. See you boys in the Bahamas, and they'll be seeing Lisa Cornwell there as well.
That's right. Got my bathing suit ready.
Oh, that's great.
No, I don't. I didn't know we were coming on camera so quickly. But, yeah, I mean, the Bahamas in December. Tiger Woods and that crew there. It'll be exciting to see all of them play. I'm going to check out Henrik Stenson's new 3-wood. He retired the old one. And I'm predicting that 2020 is going to be a good one for Jordan Spieth.
You heard it here first.
That's right.
2020, here we come. But first, some golf in Mayakoba beginning tomorrow.